morning and welcome back to day 2 of Abundance Energy Immersion. So we're going to be going a little bit more in depth today about some of the concepts we explored yesterday and expanding on them in greater detail. So I'm just going to get everything set up live so I can see all the comments and want to get your feedback and see how you got on with some of yesterday's exercises and things like that. So we're just going to make sure I can see everybody. So so I'm coming on live. So I'm going to be live for a minute now for the next probably about 45 minutes while we go through the learning outcomes that were set today, so that we can and get your feedback from some of the things that you did yesterday, because I know that there were ladies that did the kinesiology muscle test around their home and found weakened spots. So we'll do a little bit of a recap from yesterday, and we're going to expand on some of those concepts that we got to at the end. And we're going to be looking more and more in depth at those. So just make sure I'm shared on all platforms. I can see comments and all the normal things that we need to do so that I can actually interact and see what you're saying, because Facebook has been, I won't say problematic, but it's been a little bit difficult seeing all the comments and things at times lately. I don't know why they're not coming up on the mobile feed, so it's a question of doing multiple things at once. And I'd say I'm a bear of very little brain when it comes to things like that. So let me just make sure I've shared that on my page. Share now. There we go. Right. So yeah, this is day 2 of Abundance Energy Academy. And this is all about the energy of abundance that surrounds us, but that we've actually lost contact with as we've evolved, become more modernized, live in modern societies. And now many of us are finding that our lives are not abundant. We're struggling in 9-to-5 jobs. There's never enough money. There's never enough time. Everything's a real uphill struggle. And then increasingly, people look to be self-employed to get that freedom, to get time freedom, to get financial freedom. Falling off my chair again. And then, with going in with great aspirations and great goals, and then it doesn't always work out, despite all the law of attraction stuff, understanding about staying high vibe, all the personal development stuff, removing all those limiting beliefs about what you're worth and your value and whether people are willing to pay you or not for your gifts, and still nothing is happening. And this is because we've evolved now, or been brought up, educated to see ourselves as separate from our environment. We go to school, we're taught it's all in our own minds, and if we apply ourselves, everything will be okay. Now, if that was the case, there'd be a lot more people far more successful than they actually are, because there are bigger factors at play in our environment and our society that we are not always in control of. So managing our immediate environment becomes increasingly important. So if you're watching me live, let me know that you're here with #live. Let me know if you're watching it on replay later for #replay. If you were here yesterday, if you could let me know you were here yesterday and whether you did the kinesiology muscle testing, which was using the thumb and the 4 fingers to, tune in and actually see what's going on in your environment. I can see people are watching. If I'm not getting comments up, I do apologise. Like I said, Facebook has been a bit of a beast at times lately. So, all right. So what we talked about yesterday was the fact that you don't live in empty space, if you like. The air around you is not empty. It is full of energy. And this energy comes from the cosmos. It comes from the earth. It comes from our buildings. It comes from our Wi-Fi. It comes from everything around us gives off energy. Everything. We don't exist in a vacuum. Now, this energy can either support us in achieving our goals, our dreams, our aspirations. It can help us bring in wealth. It can help us bring in opportunities, or it can block all of those things when this energy is not free-flowing or stressed or has become interrupted in some way. So yesterday I spoke about your goals as being intentional seeds that you wanted to plant in the universe, and you wanted to plant them in a nice fertile energetic environment so that they can grow and bloom, and that the rest of the world can see what you're doing and interact with your blossoming business, and then you would reap the rewards of what you're trying to achieve. Now, maybe you run a business, it may be you just want more promotion in work, it may be you want to increase your income, it may be you want to call in your soulmate, whatever it may be. But this energy around us supports us. So we exist not in a vacuum, we exist in a vast array of energy fields. Some of those we create internally from our own thoughts that create a field that goes around us, but we're also immersed in a wash of energies from outside of ourselves, and we need to learn to manage those effectively and not continue to think that we exist in a vacuum, and that by doing all sorts of intentional things and journaling and being high vibe we're going to be able to achieve what we want, because sometimes we just simply won't be able to do that when we're not in the right environment, energetic environment. And I also spoke about how yesterday, how when we're in cities and very built up areas, the natural energy of the earth can be interrupted. And where I talked about it being in terms of positive and negative, or masculine and feminine, or earth, fire and water, or moon and sun, whatever way you wish to think about it, but we broadly divide the energy into two main types. Now, in the Feng Shui tradition, these are the Chinese dragons, the him and the hers. In Eastern, Western tradition, they're more associated with energy lays, as we call them. They're the song lines in the Aboriginal culture. They're the massive paths, huge giant features in African culture that traverse the continent. They also feature heavily in the Native American India culture. They feature in cultures all around the world, these alignments of energies that work with geology and magnetism, electromagnetism, and other things as well. We haven't yet got to the full bottom of these. There are studies involved. There are more esoteric studies and there are some scientific studies. We don't yet understand all these fields, and even scientists who are heavily involved in fields and energies are just like, it's like trying to dissect pea soup. There are so many energy fields, but we'd be foolish to dismiss them as not having an influence on them when they clearly do. We as a being have evolved to exist in all these fields, and we now manipulate our environment to such a degree that we can block these flows of energies. Oh, Jill, morning, Jill. Oh, nice necklace, thank you. That's my moonstone. Yes, I love my moonstone. Needed to wear it today. Look a bit baggy under the eyes. I don't know what, I did a very deep meditation this morning. I don't think I've quite come back yet. So despite my best efforts. So yesterday we spoke about these energy flows that can either attract abundance or block them. And we need to look at our immediate environment, but also slightly our wider environment as well. So I know some of the ladies yesterday went away and did the kinesiology muscle test to find out whether there were negative energies or energies that were impacting them in a negative way in their home and in their immediate environment. So I've got some great feedback from that. And these negative energy lines, rise up from the ground, if you like. So they can be on one level of your house, but they can rise through several floors. So it's always worth testing yourself on the ground floor, the second floor, third floor, however tall your house is or the building that you live in, to see how far they emanate upwards. But what I wanted to talk about today was that not all environments are equal in their energy. Not everywhere has the same energy. Energy in the natural environment is also affected by things like topography, whether you're hilly or whether you're flat. And I spoke yesterday as well about geology, the paramagnetism of rocks. Now, we all think about magnetism being associated with metal, which is ferromagnetism, but there are many rocks that carry electrical currents, and this is paramagnetism. And this is believed to be some of the technology behind why particular stones are used at particular ancient sacred sites, because they carry this electrical charge. And we know from biophilia and studies of soil and crop growth even, that the paramagnetism transmitted through soil is incredibly beneficial for growth, harvest, disease and pest resistance, for instance, in crops. But that's on a macro scale. So if you look at the bigger scale, when we're in a thriving energetic environment, we are less susceptible to things that are going to block us and bring us down, and we become stronger and more healthy on mental, physical and spiritual levels. That's how I see it, and that's how I teach with my one-to-one clients and in my group coaching program, Abundance Energy Academy, which is all about enhancing the energy of your environment so that you can make it the best that it can possibly be. So we are multi-dimensional beings. We know that we don't just exist in flesh and blood and our brain. We have extended energy fields, and we have an extended mind that actually the extended mind can reach us to the farthest reaches of the universe and extract any information that we want when we know how to do that. And we can put out any intention that we want for what we want to achieve, and we will get a responding energy field back from the universe containing these answers. We just have to learn how to interpret those answers and information, because it doesn't come in English, French, German, whatever your language is. It comes through the body, and it comes through what they call the subliminal mind, which is the mind that we're not aware of. This is the subliminal mind that governs all our physical processes that we don't have to think about, like breathing, digesting food. You know, I don't have to think about that. It happens automatically. But your subliminal mind is also incredibly sensitive to energy around you. It's your subliminal mind that picks up on these energy fields within the earth, the geomagnetic forces. And it's your subliminal mind that can pick up on things like underground water, which again affect the geomagnetic forces above ground. And particular behaviours in water and particular geology actually bring us down energetically and physiology. And now we're starting to go into the realms of what we call geopathic stress. This is where particular environments are not conducive to live in. Now, traditionally, when we look at a lot of ancient sacred sites and a lot of old settlements, and as someone that can see underground water, its emanation above ground, we didn't build over particular types of underground water historically. We knew somewhere that living over particular types of moving underground water or particular bodies of water was not conducive to our health. Now, in the meantime, society has industrialised, modernised, and we've gone, what a load of superstitious nonsense, and chucked it out, because that can't be right, because science at that point said it wasn't right. Science is actually now starting to come around to this. And what that meant was that we then started building houses and buildings anywhere we could chuck a shoebox down or anywhere we felt like. And hands up in the comments, how many people have lived in or own or have been in a building where they've walked through the door and they've gone, oh my God, I don't like the feel of this. Just, if I'll comment, if you've ever experienced that, if you've ever lived somewhere where that's made you feel tired, ill, lethargic, or it's brought your mood down, or it just doesn't feel right, or it's a bit creepy and things go bump in the night and you're not quite sure what's going on. There can be many, many reasons for that, and those are things we're going to look at today, because they are actually what I would call blocks to abundance. Because when we're in that negative physiological and mental state that it puts us in, it's really hard for us to be high vibe. It's hard for us to focus. It's hard for us to function at our optimum, because we actually physically can't, because of the changes to our neurochemistry, which changes how our mind and our body function. So we're going to look. So these 3-day immersions, I would add, are not the normal light little, 7 quick hacks doing this and your life will be all right, we see on Facebook. This is a delve into both science and spirituality, quite deep. That is some of the content that you'll be looking at in Abundance Energy Academy, and even more in depth when you work one-to-one with me in Sacred Feminine Living. That's the real deep dive into all the consciousness within nature. But Abundance Energy Academy is the group training program that is my lowest ticket offer. That is, the doors are open now and they're open till Sunday for the first cohort of students. So, and I'm really looking forward to working with those ladies that have enrolled already. I'm really, really excited to be able to introduce them to all the things that are in their environment that we're not aware of, and all the things that can make our struggle unnecessary when we learn how to heal and harmonise our environment. So let me just refresh and see what the comments are. I'm doing 2 things at once, like I said, and it doesn't always work with me. So so if you've been in an environment that doesn't feel good, that doesn't feel aligned, that doesn't support you, that you get tired all the time, that you may have been well and then you move to this house and all of a sudden you're not feeling well, relationships may have deteriorated, your income may have started to dry up. There can be lots of things that happen as a result of geopathic stress and stress, other forms of stress in the environment. So, oh God, doing technology in me really, especially when I'm feeling a bit non-compos mentis, as I'm brutally honest. So, what is geopathic stress? Now, we know that the Earth, as I say, has all these fields of energy emitted from it. Everything from the Schumann resonance, all different kind of frequencies that work in different hertz. And we know that when that energy is functioning fine, environments are abundant and they thrive, and people thrive and animals thrive, and you know, the fauna and flora is healthy, everything works well. And then they can get blocked. Now, they often get blocked by man's activity, by infrastructure, by roads, by buildings, by railways, but they can also be blocked by things that have happened in the past. So sites of diseases, sites of battle, sites of massacre, sites of trauma, and we can, that memory, if you like, can be held within the landscape. And that's, geopathic stress is disruption in the very earth itself. And geopsychic stress is the other form, is trauma in the landscape by something that has happened. Now, geopathic stress is often caused by the blocks in these energy flows that go through the landscape. And I talked yesterday about infrastructure can be doing that, and people went around their houses and found places where their muscle testing showed that they were weak. So that means that the messages from the brain to the body aren't getting through. And that means in those environments, you can often start to feel ill, not sleep. Things just won't really function very well because your mind to body messages are not getting through very well. And it affects the neurochemistry in your very brain. It affects the balance of serotonin, melatonin, and other neurochemistry, so that we're just not firing on all cylinders. And one of the other common causes of geopathic stress is underground water, and there are particular behaviours of water that we would be looking out for. And again, what these do is they weaken the messages from brain to body, and these are measurable effects. And studies have shown, for instance, there was a fantastic study, I think it was in the 80s, on what we call the Krebs houses in Germany. And this village or small town had a massively high incidence of cancer in the occupants, and they were trying to find out why. And what they eventually ended up looking at in this study was the study of underground water. And what they found was that where these particular people were located in the village, the vast majority, I think over 90% of them, were located over these particular types of underground water that behave in particular ways. So water is pushed under pressure underground, and it interrupts the geomagnetic forces above ground. We are designed to live in a basic normal frequency of hertz. When it's interrupted, that affects our neurochemistry. And in the long term, when we live over them long term, well, that can make us very, very ill. So that seems to be very symptomatic of modern society. And when you look at older settlements, I'll often see the water coming through, and there are gaps in the houses that allow this water to come through that we didn't build over. And now we like to plonk houses wherever we feel like it, and we build hospitals on floodplains and all sorts of things, and all sorts of really interesting things like that, which do not support us. So you really need to find out what underground water you have under your house and how is it behaving, because that can really take the rug from under you. Negatively charged underground water, and it is actually what we call negatively charged. It's not as simple as all the energy is a bit bad. It's actually to do with the positive and negative charge in the water molecules themselves. So this is appears to be woo on the outside because of the effects. It's like, oh, I've lived in this house and all of a sudden I don't feel well. This is a bit spooky. This is a bit strange. And actually, when you break it down, it's to do with the behaviour of water and vortices under the ground, its positive and negative charge, and how that interrupts the geomagnetic forces that emanate above ground that our brain is designed to function in. So although it looks like magic when you don't understand the physics behind it, but when you understand the physics behind it, then it becomes a lot more accessible. And it's also this physics of our neurochemistry and our environment that enables us to have altered states of quantum consciousness and achieve what they call the quantum state, which is outside of time and space. Achieving that state is very, very dependent on your environment. So then we start going into the realms of real rue, of altered states of consciousness and visions and hallucinogenic experiences, all created by the neurochemistry DMT, which we produce in our brain every night to dream. But certain places on the earth stimulate that production, which enables certain sites, certain ancient sacred sites have this geology. And they're not just there, it is in other places as well, but enables us to have extrasensory and altered states of awareness, our quantum state. So we are really, really, I hope you can see, we're really, really intricately connected to our environment. So when you can tap into all this and understand what forces are at play and how you can enhance these forces, it's like having a superpower, because then you can work with the energy in your environment and you can feel high vibe and you can function, and you can use particular power centers when you want to say, right, this is what I want to achieve. You do it on a particular spot, and then the results are like 10 times, 1,000 times what you would have got just by sitting in your armchair journaling, because you're not actually in a place that's going to go bang and send that energy out into the universe. So I hope that makes sense. Let me just refresh again, because I know this is a bit of a deep dive, and I know I can ramble a bit. It's just the way I am. So, but I hope you're following the thread. So geopathic stress is caused by actually man-made interruptions in our physical environment, but also when certain things are happening under the ground that traditionally we would never have lived on, built on, or other things. And then conversely, what we did in ancient times was we created sacred spaces where that energy is enhanced and also comes with particular features. I'm not going to go into that in depth now because this is all part of the program, and it would just simply take too long to explain. And the other stress we wanted to talk about today was geopsychic stress. This is when you're living in places that have trauma in the landscape. So it may be that there's been very much mass illness or plagues in the past, or battles, or huge car crashes, or you're downstream of things that have been traumatized, and this energy will be carried downstream in these energy lines. Call them dragons, call them energy layers, call them grids, whatever you want, but this negative energy, if you're downstream, if you like, will be carried into your environment. So we need to clear that as well. So it's really important that we understand our environment and that we clean it regularly. And this is all part of the geomantic technique, in that, if you like, in the pagan and ancient calendars, we have all these celebratory and days. Now they're all to do with cleaning our environment and working with it in its mood at that time. So yeah, so in Beltane on May Day, you know, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the spring day, it's dance around the maypole, it's all getting our thing on, you know, because hey, it's mating time. And then we move to the longest day, where it's like, thank God, it's the longest day, we're celebrating longest hours of daylight and the shortest hours of night, and everything's growing and everything's going to come into harvest, and we're going to produce enough harvest for the winter. In those days it was food. Nowadays it can be financial harvest, it can be all sorts of things, it can be health, it can be whatever the harvest is that you're looking for in your life. And then we move through the autumn harvest festival. Look at everything I've done this year, isn't it great? Now let's celebrate that I've got enough to take me to the shortest day. Now I start going into introspective mode and thinking, look at everything I want to achieve this year, and how am I going to get through the next year? How am I going to plan that out and work that out? That's when, if we're running a business, we really want to be thinking internally for the shortest day. We want to get those intentional seeds mulling around over the winter months. Let them just sort of settle and form on their own. And then we go back into the spring pagan festival of Imbolc on the 1st of February, where those seeds start to shoot, they start to take on life, and we start to work on them as the days get lighter and we start to feel like we're coming out of winter. And then we move through that shooting, nurturing, blossoming, harvesting, sitting in the winter. We move through those phases of the year within that energy. So when we understand what the energy is doing around us in those midwinter to midsummer phases, it contracts and expands. And we also have phases within the moon that do a much shorter cycle, but that mirror that cycle. So growth, expansion, and then harvest and retraction, growth, expansion, harvest and retraction. So we have these smaller lunar phases. That means we can continue to grow and assess what we're doing, even in the winter months. We haven't got to go, well, I did that in January, I can't really assess it again until December, because we'd just fall off the wagon. So we have the lunar cycle of energy, and these energy cycles exist within the energy around us. They exist within the geomagnetic forces. They exist within how water behaves underground. They exist in the energy formations that we come off water and all those kind of things. So this energy is really prevalent. It's this energy that helps plants grow. It's this energy that helps our body function. We are intimately connected to this, our natural environment, and these forms of energy that we just can't see. And I think it's because we're invisible. They're invisible to most people, not invisible to me, thankfully. I see them with my day-to-day vision. But I think it's because they're invisible to most people. We are so evolved to just look at our five senses, our dense senses, that we have evolved out of listening to this other senses, because now we don't need to find underground water. We don't need to dig it up for our survival. We just turn on the tap. Now we don't need to understand the seasons so much to grow our food and look after animals, unless we're involved in agriculture, because we just go to the supermarket and food's flowed in from all around the world, and I've got a nice sturdy house and I can just turn on the electricity and the heating comes on. Everything is very, very easy, and therefore we don't need those older, more primal, subliminal senses. So the conscious mind starts to block out all that unnecessary information, because it's not necessary for us to function on a day-to-day level. And this is how the conscious mind can damp down the subconscious mind and all the information that it's actually trying to give us. And then when we're into attracting abundance, we're trying to actually unlock that subconscious mind again to receive this information, but we've spent most of our lifetime actually trying to put a lid on it so that it doesn't interfere with our day-to-day functioning. So it's about unlocking that subconscious mind, that subconscious awareness, and opening the door to all this energy. So yesterday I set a little task of doing some kinesiology muscle testing, which is a simple method. Is just to link your first finger and your thumb, and then do it with the other hand, so you form like a little chain. And to walk around, I asked ladies to walk around their house, which many of them did, and when that link is strong, it means that normally indicative. This is not a finite test that I would do with my clients. Let me get this straight. This is like a rule of thumb test. So you walk around your house, walk around the rooms a little bit, upstairs, downstairs, and see where your fingers break. Because that is what your mind is doing, is sending a message to your thumb and forefinger to say, if everything is okay, stay shut. And what happens is when the geomagnetic forces are interrupted, the brain nervous synapse cannot get the message to the fingers quickly enough. There is a break in that flow. So the brain is going, if everything's okay, stay strong. And when these geomagnetic forces interrupt, the message doesn't get there. So the brain's saying this and the fingers are going, what? What? Can't hear you. And the fingers will become weak because that instruction has gone. That is indicative of what we would either be known as geopathic stress or geopsychic stress in our environment. And from there on, we need to pinpoint. And again, you can do that test, the same thing. Is it geopathic stress? Is it something, in the very fabric of my building? Or is it, underground water? Is it geopathic stress? Or is it geopsychic stress? Is it perhaps coming from downstream, from the hospital or the prison or the motorway where the crash happened? Or where is it actually coming from? Because these things can be carried across our landscape. They can come downstream with these energy flows. So for those of you who did the test yesterday and found that you got areas in your house that weren't helping you to function, then you can do that to identify, is it geopathic stress? as in coming from the geology or the fabric, the very fabric, the infrastructure, or is it geopsychic stress? Is it what we would call trauma? Often human created, it can be trauma in nature as well, which again we would go in depth into in Abundance Energy Academy. So what you would then need to do, of course, is to identify whether that energy can be healed. And I'd be surprised if you'd actually get a no. So we then would look at bespoke, in the program we look at rather bespoke solutions that are unique to your environment, because this geomancy is not a one size fits all program. It's not the way I operate with a bit of mix and match from different geomantic cultures around the world, is that their solutions were designed to fit their location. So what a geomantic solution from Africa may not be appropriate to someone who's living in Europe, because the energy qualities, the geomagnetic forces are different, because you're in a different place in the globe. So it's then a question of using, we can either use dowsing, which is a technique asking focus questions with a pendulum, which again people often dismiss as woo, but is actually accessing the information that your subliminal mind is able to pick up on and putting it into a form that your conscious mind can understand and action. So we would find out what is the best way to heal this trauma and harmonize the energy. So you can, if you've identified places within your house where you are not functioning, or your office, your work, wherever it may be where you're not functioning, you need to know what the cause of that non-functioning you is, because this is blocking you from attracting abundance. This is blocking you from attracting all the things that you need. What's causing it? And then we need to work out how we can heal it and harmonize it. And those solutions will vary. They can involve working with elemental consciousnesses of earth, air, fire and water. It can involve colour, it can involve sound, it can involve homeopathy, it can involve fire, it can involve earth acupuncture, it can involve whatever we identify as the most beneficial thing for you in your home with the energy that you are existing on. So, you know, for anybody who's living in a home or working in a building, or you're trying to create a home business and you're just like, God, why is nothing going right? Why do I get some success and not others? Why am I showing up again and again and again? I'm doing everything, all this law of attraction stuff and all this manifesting gurus say I should be doing, and it's still not working. It's because you're in an environment where it just simply will not work, because you're like in a vacuum of non-functioning energy where the energy has become stressed. So we know when we're ill, don't we? We know when we ourselves, when our body gets ill or we get stressed, we do not function at our best. And your environment, your landscape is exactly the same. There isn't one thing in the universe that doesn't feel like that. Even a sun, when it starts to get stressed and isn't working at its optimal self, will, go into a supernova. It's the end of its life. Everything has phases and everything has cycles and everything has energy. So task for today was to build upon what you did yesterday, which was identify areas of stress, and then to ask today, is it caused by geopathic stress, which is usually underground water, or blocks in geomagnetic forces, or these energy lines, whichever way you wish to comprehend it, because there are millions of forces and they all look really spectacular. Or is it geopsychic stress, which is some kind of trauma? Now that can be people, it can be animal, it can be accidents, it can be trauma in nature, like ground clearance, forest clearance. There are all sorts of traumas that can occur, mining, quarrying. Our manipulation of the earth creates stress in the landscape. We have, since we became farmer settlers, really there is now geopathic stress, where you don't get people, you don't get a lot of geopathic or geopsychic stress. We are adept at creating stress in our landscape. Oh, we're talented, because we've ceased to learn how to live in harmony. We're not nomadic. We don't roam and, try and survive in that way anymore. We have become farmer settlers, in the last 3,000, 5,000 years. And that has changed how we interact with our landscape. So We've looked today at identifying the forms of stress. Now we know where they are, identifying the forms of stress so that you know whether you're being affected by geology or trauma. And you then need to, you know, we would look in depth in the program at how much that is affecting you and other members of your household and all those kind of things. And you need to, you know, to understand why it's so crucial to heal and harmonize those forms of stress, because when our environment is stressed and blocked, we are not existing in the abundance that is the world, that is the universe, where things are just flowing, things just work out, things magically come to you, because you're living in these cycles of natural cycles of expansion and contraction. You're stuck actually in contraction and stress. So when you're trying to expand and grow and develop and attract clients, and you're shouting to your blue in the face about how wonderful, what everything wonderful you have to offer, and you know how much you could help people, how much you could give to the world, or what you do, it just does not get out. The message does not get out of that contracted little bubble. It doesn't seep out. It doesn't bleed out into the wider environment. And you need to know that these forms, there are particular forms of healing that can be applied to these forms of stress. They will all be unique and bespoke to what works best for you and your environment, because you and your environment are in a partnership. Now the environment, the healing modality that we would develop for you may be a different healing modality from somebody else who lives in your same house. If they came in after you and you hadn't done the work, it would not necessarily be the same, because you and it exist in a completely individual and unique relationship. No two people and place interact in the same way. And this is what I love about geomancy, as it is not like a prescript, or what, like I say, it's not an off the peg, it's not a one size fits all. If you do X, Y, and Z, you will achieve X, Y, and Z. It's a question of you want to achieve X, Y, and Z. So what can we do to make sure that that happens for you? Because the X, Y, and Z that they use may not work for you. So let's make sure we find the right one for you so that it works for you, not anybody else. So this is what it does. So I'd love to hear what you find from your testing that says, just a little quick test that anyone could do. It's not a finite test. When we're looking at particular types of underground water, we're actually looking at its width and its flow rate, and we're looking at where the stress emanates, and that can be from the middle of underground streams, it can from the edge, depending on how they're behaved and where they have come from, which I'm all very blessed to be able to track and be able to find out, and things like that. So I'd love to hear comments. Haven't question moving to a new home, how long does it take to the energies and settle or affect the residents of the home? The instant is the answer to that, Jill. I know people who have, moved from a very healthy home and have moved to somewhere that they thought was going to be great, and almost overnight members of the household have been affected, because you just move from one geomagnetic forces that is affecting your brain chemistry, and they affect us second by second, into somewhere that, alters our neurochemistry and alters our physiology instantaneously. And interestingly, we're all affected differently. So what we often find is that families will move. One person may continue to be fine and go, well, it's not the home because I'm not affected, because it doesn't affect their neurochemistry the same and their physiology the same. Some person may find that they're feeling good some days and down the next, and it's sort of intermittent, but they're gradually getting wound down. And then you might find another member of the household was perfectly fine over there, come over here, not fine at all. And it can happen incredibly, incredibly quickly, because it can affect your blood pressure within minutes. It can affect your breathing within hours. It can affect you really, really quickly, because our whole physiology is governed by a lot of our physiology rather is governed by outside forces. Obviously, if you want to eat crap and drink alcohol 24 hours a day, then you're going to bug yourself up. But a lot of our triggers in terms of neurochemistry, the timing of things that happen within our body, are connected to light quality. They're connected to the moon. They're connected to polarity in north and south pole of the earth. We are so intimately connected to our environment that when we exist in places that are blocked, then that affects our whole functioning. I hope that makes sense. And then obviously when we want to enhance that and be the best version of ourselves, we're still looking for fluctuations in these geomagnetic forces, and we're still looking for fluctuations in these earth energies. But the fluctuations that we're looking for are different. The fluctuations that we're looking for are those that enhance ourselves to get into that quantum state. And this is why ancient man, I believe, and others like me, created a lot of these sacred sites, is that studies have shown that they enhance our conducive quantum state of awareness when we're in them. And that then, as I say, puts us in the quantum state. But there are many little earth energy features within your home where you live. Every home has a power center. And the thing about earth energies and these fields is that actually they are conscious, and that when we talk to them, they react to us. So it's not as if we're looking at something that hasn't got a level of conscious. And this is how we enables us to work and heal and harmonize anything that's, so what you want to do is you want to get, if anything that's detrimental in terms of energy, you want to bring it through back to neutral and harmonize it so it's in a good state. And then you want to find the bits that you can really, really enhance and supercharge them. And they then supercharge you into this conducive quantum state. And it's in that state that we manifest. So it's in that state that we will attract more clients, more money, more love, more abundance, whatever it is that we're looking for. And our environment is crucial to that. And I'm afraid to say that none of this is covered in a lot of the law of attraction stuff. None of this is covered in work of Abraham Hicks and people like that. It is more covered in quantum physics, certain spirituality, animism. People like Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, William Bloom, Deepak Chopra, they all talk about our environment and the spirituality of nature, this divinity. But this divinity has both a scientific and a spiritual quality to it. So when we can tap into these fields and these forces, we can become truly abundant, and we're working with the natural cycles, we're working with nature consciousness. And that's not just nature consciousness, as I say, of trees and flowers and birds. And the whole universe is natural. The whole universe is full of natural forces. The whole universe is full of consciousness. And we can learn to work within those ebbs and flows, rather than this constant struggle, strive, which is a man-made system. And we need to get out of that, particularly women. It's incredibly harmful for women's energies that we have become detached from this divine feminine principle of creativity. And this is what we tap on in Abundance Energy Academy. This is all about working with the energy of your home. Doors of which, as I say, are currently open until Sunday. Now the program itself runs for 14 weeks. There are 7 modules. They're released each fortnight because there's quite a bit of information for you, nothing that you can't manage. And there are weekly the weekly coaching calls with me, weekly mentoring calls with me as you work through the program. And your initial step on this program is an energy assessment by me of your environment. And then together we work through creating solutions to heal, harmonize, and finally enhance your environment as we work through the program. So it's a step by step. I will take you from knowing very little about any of this to understanding how your environment affects you, and how you'll then learn how to recognize what your environment is doing and how to heal it, so that even if you move home, or even if you move offices or go to a new place, you'll understand the principles involved and you can apply it then. So the course is delivered over 14 weeks, 7 modules are delivered. There are weekly Zoom sessions with me where you bring your individual answers to individual questions, and I'll help you individually as you work through this program. But you'll get lifetime access to the program, lifetime access to the Facebook group as the program grows, which I'm very confident it will, so that you'll always have access to support and information. Doors are open now until Sunday. You can buy it for a one-off fee, or there are 6 or 12 monthly payments available to make it easy for you to get into the program. And I'm really, really excited about it, because I've normally worked one-to-one, and one-to-one clients, the financial commitment is £10,000 to work with me for 6 months. So I'm really excited to make some of this information accessible to so many more women. And I know it can make a huge difference to what we can achieve in life, how we feel within ourselves, how good we feel, how our body feels, how we're able to step into this feminine, divine feminine principle, which we're forced so often to live in a masculine world, masculine ways of thinking, masculine ways of behaving. But actually, by working with these natural cycles, we are really embodying the divine feminine, and it has a profound difference to what we can achieve, what we can attract, how we behave, our boundaries, our relationships, our relationship to money. So many things change when we start to tap into this. So sorry, I'm not caught up in the comments again. I told you, very little brain, looking at the screen thinking, God, I look knackered with bags under my eyes. And then I've missed the comments. Why do women always do that? Worry about what we look like. Oh, it drives me mad. But then, yeah, I don't know, on the other hand, it's your self-esteem, isn't it? So, right, Jill, makes so much sense because I've experienced it. Oh, geopathic stress and when things don't go right, is that what you mean? Yeah, it's shocking, innit? I had a friend once who moved into a geopathically stressed house, and I did say, I was quite young at the time, though, but I did say, I don't think your parents ought to buy that house, you know, it's not looking particularly good. But I didn't really tell anybody what I could see at the time. They moved in. Oh my God, it's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Even things going bump and bang in the night. I have to say, things that bump and go bang in the night can just be a sign of trauma in the landscape, because it affects like these energy blocks. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is any thing in our house. And that's also very common with geopathic stress, actually, is people thinking their house is haunted. And this is to do, a little quick aside, this is to do what we call subaudal noise. Geopathic stress is often related to cavern fissures and underground water. What they do is they emit a noise that we can't hear, and it's called a subaudal noise. So we can't actually hear it on a conscious level, but our eardrum registers it. And our brain, it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and the hairs on your arm, and you feel really spooked to death. And you're thinking, oh, what's this? It's actually your subliminal mind saying to you, there's a fucking great hole under the ground down here filled with water. Probably not a good place to be. And that's actually why a lot of people don't think their house is haunted. It's not. It's a phenomenon called subaudal noise, which is very, very real. Scares the living daylights out of you. It's because your subliminal mind is saying to you, there's a bloody grey hole under the ground that goes down a long way. It's got a lot of water in it. It's very dark. It's not a very good place to be standing over or building a house over, because who knows, the ground may collapse, you know. So subaudal noise is one of the, as an aside note, not covered in the programme, but I always found that really fascinating, that there's, and we do get a lot of subaudal noise actually at sacred sites, because they too are over underground water, but it's water that behaves in a different way, and that we enhance, and that we do things within the structure so that it's not beneficial, not harmful. We actually change it so that it's completely beneficial. And this is to do with the structures and the rocks and the paramagnetism and the things I was talking about yesterday. So, sorry, I've gone on too long. So I'm glad that makes sense, Jill. Oh yes, lovely. Oh great, questions, moving to no home. Right, so yeah, I hope that's all the comments. If it's not, do put them in. Do put them in underneath if you're watching on replay. I will always get back to you. If you've got questions about Abundance Energy Academy, it is just a sign-up program. Anybody can join. One-to-one, I do have discovery calls with one-to-one people, because I want to know that they're a good fit for the program. I need to know that how open-minded they are. I need to know that we can work together, that we're going to click, that we're going to get on, and all those kind of things. But Abundance Energy Academy is simply a sign-up program. You can just follow the link. I'll put the link up after, so you can just follow the link. You can see, you'll be able to go through and see the modules, see all the bonus content you get, because there are about 4 or 5 bonuses, one about visioning, one about changing your relationship to money. You get the complete program, dowsing mastery system, which is my dowsing program, which is a complete course all in itself, which looks at applying dowsing to your health particularly, and your environment, because you know you can use dowsing in your environment as well. So there are lots and lots of bonuses. You get 28 days to manifesting magic, which is all about your mindset, so that you're able to manifest. But the crucial bit about Abundance Energy Academy is that you need to be in an environment that is fertile, so that all your visioning, all your money mindset, all your dowsing, and all your manifesting mindset actually can reap you the rewards, because if you've been trying all these things for years and years and years, it's not been working. I can guarantee you that it's the energy in your environment that is stopping that from happening. So I hope I've caught all the comments. Yeah, but if you want to message me, if you've got any queries about the program, please do. I'm not going to force anyone to buy anything they can't afford or don't want, but if you've suddenly gone, oh my God, that's ringing bells, I'm feeling a strong pull to do that, then take that as a message from your subconscious mind that it's nudging you to go look at that further. And I don't believe I come up on anybody's Facebook feed or in their field of awareness without reason. Synchronicity is a marvellous thing, and it's normally raving a big red flag at us at something that we need to pay attention to. So is this a certification course? No, it's not. It's not certified at the moment. It is something I'm looking at, but it's not certified at the moment. And you know, it doesn't mean it can't be certified retrospectively. I would have to look into it, but it's not certified at the moment. It's just a mentoring course with me. Jill, I highly suspect my mum's house, geopathic stress points can health drive up and living in the house. She's encouraged us to transfer home. Yes, geopathic stress can be incredibly bad for our health. One of the things, yeah, and it can be caused, there are many causes we can't go into today, but reversal points is another one that we would be looking at on the course. Reversal points are where something has happened on a particular spot outside, like a car crash or something like that, or anything like that, rape, mugging, and what happens is it changes the energy quality from like can be positive, and it twists the energy around in convoluted patterns, and then it reverses the way that it was. So if it was good, it reverses it into negative, and those are called reversal points. And they, believe it or not, snake through the landscape like wormholey tunnels. And if you've got one in your property, they can really affect you. I worked on a property, a big estate up in Scotland. This is when I used to do face-to-face geomancy, and I went up because this farmer was having difficulty with crop growth and fertiliser wasn't working. So I used to work quite a lot on agriculture, and interestingly, when I was there, I found this reversal point that comes up. His mum lived on a cottage on the estate. What's it called? Cottage. Lived on a cottage on the estate, and she had a reversal point in her home. As soon as I walked in the home, I went, oh my God, that reversal point is hitting me right in the left kidney, and I could feel my left kidney throbbing with the pain of this energy reversal point that was coming up in the house. He and his mum just stood there and went ash and white, and he said, my mum's just had to have her left kidney removed because since living in this home, she's just gone and her left kidney just packed up. So this is how strong the effects of these things can be. They are not woo, they are not, oh, I'm not sure it's affecting me or not. They're very, very real in terms of our physiology and our brain chemistry and our body functioning. And our brain chemistry, as I say, is not just involved in our physical functioning, it's to do with our mindset, it's to do with our quantum states, it's to do with what manifest. We cannot separate these things out. We are part of a whole, and our whole is part of the universal whole. We exist in an energetic environment, and we need to be healing and harmonizing our environment, because mankind as society is an awful lot of damage. And if you're not functioning, it's not necessarily your fault. It's just that society has created energetic environments that aren't actually conducive to us creating, and then we're then blamed for not being able to create abundance because there must be something wrong with us, we're spiritually poor, and all that kind of blaming, which I loathe, because it can actually be simply that we're not in a place that's conducive. But we can heal and harmonise those places so they are conducive, and nature will thank you for it, the environment will thank you for it, and then everything will start to come your way when the nature spirits and everything wake up and go, my God, we can function, and then everything just clicks into place, and it's like magic. Then everything just goes chunk, 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 chunk. So I hope to see you join. I hope if you've got queries about the program Abundance Energy Academy, I know there'll be people watching this now that'll be going, my God, that's for me. I know there'll be people thinking, woo, don't know. We can have a conversation. I know there'll be people out there watching it will be thinking, that woman is a sheer lunatic. Not for me. Fair enough, not for you. But if you want to know more, if you're a bit on the fence, send me a message. If you're ready to sign up to this program, groundbreaking program, then I will put the link above when I finish. Just click on it, go into the process, and you'll see buy now, one off, over 6 months, over 12 months. Click on the button and it'll take you straight through to enrol. We're onboarding students as of the 3rd of August, and the course will actually start on the 10th of August. And I have delivered it over 14 weeks because I know we're all busy. We've all got a lot to do. We've all got families to look after. We know the pandemic is here. People might be doing all sorts of things. So I wanted to deliver it at a pace that you can actually fully immerse yourself in it without having to feel that it's to the detriment of some other aspect of your life, because otherwise it's not going to do you any good. It's not going to do me any good. I want you to be able to enjoy it and relax into it and take full advantage of the content. So I'll put the link above. Really hope to see you in there. And day 3 will be tomorrow. And day 3, we're looking at enhancing techniques to enhance your environment so that you can achieve this conducive quantum state, so that you will be able to manifest whatever you want. This will be science and woo extraordinaire. So I really hope you'll join me tomorrow at 11 for day 3 of Abundance Energy Immersion. So I'm going to go now, and I'm sure you will want to go and do something really exciting with your lives. And I will see you tomorrow at 11 AM. But if you've got queries about the programme, just put some comments in and I will get back to you. Any questions on the live, I'll get back to you. Okay, take care then, and I will see you all soon. Bye.